Hello folks, welcome back. This is Chris in Central Pennsylvania. The U.S. Africa Business Summit wraps up today, the 25th of June, 2025 in Angola. Last year it was in Dallas, Texas. This year it's back in Africa. And this was an excellent opportunity for African countries that are serious about trade with the United States to have deep conversations about the future of trade with Africa, especially given the fact that the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, is not going to be renewed. Yes, there was a piece of legislation introduced in 2024, but it went nowhere. And there seems to be zero appetite for renewing this generous duty-free access to the U.S. marketplace that a few dozen, well, over 3 dozen African countries have had over the past 25 years. And with the AGOA Act expiring, there's a need for bilateral trade agreements since there's no Africa-wide trade agreement with the African Union or its member states. So some countries are taking this very seriously, and they want to talk about tariffs because President Trump's reciprocal tariffs that were announced back in April, and some are taking it quite seriously. And a number of African states have actually sent their heads of state to this conference in Luanda. That includes, of course, the host Angola, Algeria, Botswana, Burundi, Cape Verde, the Central African Republic, the DRC, Eswatini, Ethiopia, Gabon, Namibia, Madagascar, Mauritania, Sao Tome. Notably absent from that, from heads of state, is South Africa's Cyril Ramaphosa, who claims that his relations with the United States are very good after his Oval Office meeting with Donald Trump, in which he thoroughly embarrassed himself and embarrassed South Africa. Remember that? Have you met my white Minister of Agriculture? And then, of course, the famous line, "Mr. President, have they told you where that's at? I've never seen this before." To which Trump replied, "It's in Africa. South Africa." It's in South Africa. Yeah, well, South Africa didn't send its head of state. Maybe Sir Ramaphosa is busy. There's a lot happening in South Africa. It's understandable, and only 14 heads of state went, so really, maybe it isn't fair to criticize him. So I'm sure that South Africa sent a high-level trade delegation, like maybe the Minister for Trade, Parks Tau. No, he's in South Africa, answering questions about the Mashatile family's involvement in the state lottery. So a golden opportunity to discuss trade relations with the United States appears to have gone a begging. South Africa is not taking it seriously. And this is the point I've been making all along. Ramaphosa, to great fanfare, noted that he appointed Mcebisi Jonas as a special envoy to the United States. That was, what, 2+ months ago? I mean, that happened either before I got to South Africa or while I was in South Africa. And to date, Mcebisi Jonas has not left South Africa. Well, I'm sorry, he did. He went to London for a trip, but he's not come to America as a special envoy. How can you be a special envoy for your nation to the U.S. when you're sitting in South Africa? Is he going to the consulate or the embassy every day and saying hi? How is he a special envoy? What's he special about? What's so special about it? And I'm not picking on Mcebisi Jonas. It's not his fault. But what is South Africa waiting on? Are they waiting to play the victim? Is that what the role is here? Is that the plan? We'll play the victim when the 31% tariffs go into effect on July 9th. We'll scream racism and think that that will change President Trump's position and get the U.S. to lower the 31% tariff that's coming South Africa's way. I don't think it's going to work. Really don't. I mean, your friends in Tehran thought they could play chicken with Donald Trump, and look how that turned out. They backed down. Do you really think that ignoring the effort to work out a trade deal with the United States is a healthy situation? I don't understand the approach of South Africa's government here. The only possible motivation is one of two things. They're just arrogant and don't give a crap, or they think they can cry racism and get their way like they've done for 30 years. But it's not going to work that way. It's not going to work that way. So where do we go from here? Well, South Africa's government doesn't seem to care about hundreds of thousands of jobs tied to trade with the United States, potentially millions in the wider economy. They don't seem to really care about this. They don't have any trade negotiators here trying to work out a tariff or a reciprocal trade agreement. They don't bother to send a high-level delegation. Did they even send a delegation? I don't know, because I don't know all the attendees, but certainly it wasn't announced. All the heads of state were announced, and we know that Parks Tau is in there. Where's Ronnie Lamola? He's a foreign minister. Did he go? Maybe he went. But if he did, South Africa's media is not covering it. Only the Times had a story on this event, 3-day summit, which wraps up today. So, again, where do we go from here? We go to 31% tariffs effective July 9th. Unless Donald Trump changes his mind. And that doesn't seem likely at this stage, particularly given the behavior of President Ramaphosa once he returned to South Africa, running around and making jokes about dim the lights. I thought they were pulling a Trump on me. Dude, not a good look. Not a good look. That stuff gets caught on camera and gets shared all over the world. Yet you're running around making fun and insulting President Trump. Well, he's like an elephant, he remembers. Hopefully South Africans won't pay a price for the arrogance of their government. What say you, South Africa? What say you, Mzansi? Cheers.